I'm Cole Haddon, and what you're about to listen to is a bonus episode from Season 1 of 5 a.m. StoryTalk. In this podcast bonus eps, my guests break down a seminal piece of art from their lives, what I describe as mini masterclasses, although not always on the subject you expect. These bonus episodes are exclusive to my paid supporters in the season they were originally published. But in the following season, they're each unlocked, one at a time, so everyone can listen to them alongside the new episodes. Your paid subscriptions get you early access to these bonus eps, months and months early, but they also help keep the lights on here. In fact, Season 2 of this podcast enjoys several production upgrades because so many of you believe in this multimedia arts and culture conversation. I hope you consider becoming a paid supporter yourself, which you can learn more about in the show notes. Now, enjoy this 5 a.m. Story Talk bonus episode, Story Talkers. Welcome back to 5 a.m. Story Talk, my friends, and thank you so much for being a paid subscriber. Today's bonus episode wouldn't be possible without you. I'm back with screenwriter John August, also co-host of the wildly popular podcast ScriptNotes, to discuss a favorite piece of art from his life, specifically the pilot episode of Modern Family, which was created by Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd. It premiered on September 23, 2009, during the first year of the Obama presidency, and ran for an astonishing 11 seasons before wrapping up on April 8, 2020, during the final year of Donald Trump's first term in office. In some ways, it feels like this ensemble sitcom about a family patriarch and his new Colombian immigrant wife and stepson and his two other kids and their families, one straight and one same-sex, a modern family, so to say, arrived at a point when it seemed like the United States was finally turning a corner when it came to equal rights and multiculturalism, and then called it quits as it became obvious America was going to do the same on everything this wonderful TV series believed in. Of course, we fight on, but it was a painful hit of nostalgia rewatching this pilot for my conversation with John. You can find relevant links to this episode in the show notes, as well as a few links about how to support those whose rights are currently being attacked in America. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back, John. When I invited you to join me for this conversation, I asked you to pick a film or TV series that you describe as a seminal piece of art in your life. And you picked the Modern Family pilot, which aired in September 23rd, 2009, written by Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd. Can you tell me a bit about the series and what it meant to you when it debuted?
All right, so now that we're saying seminal, it makes it sound like it was like a hugely formative thing. And so I was already working as a writer when I saw this for the first time. But I want to put myself back in the place of watching it the first time and just recognizing, holy shit, this is really well done. Like this just like nailed it. It actually just on all cylinders, every scene, every moment was set, like not only set up like what was happening in the series, but actually felt like the series. And I would compare that to two other shows I absolutely love, which is Parks and Rec and 30 Rock. So both Parks and Rec and 30 Rock, the pilots are like, like you can see potential there, but like the character voices aren't what they're going to be. Like things are not quite working yet. And so then if you have patience and you go through, 12 episodes, you're like, oh, okay, that's 30 Rock. That's everybody sort of behaving themselves in their proper way. But it wasn't there at the start. With Modern Family, from the first frame, every character is exactly who they are in the series. The show knows where it's going, who the people are, what their styles of funny are. It's incredibly joke dense, and yet it's so cleverly setting up who all these people are. You immediately know what the situation is. I just think it's kind of brilliant, and I just was marveling how good it was when I watched it, and then when I watched it again last night to prepare for this, I was like, oh yeah, it really is super super solid.
The joke heavy reference is so accurate. I looked through the pilot script, and the pilot script looks like a drama compared to how joke heavy what shows up on the screen is.
So I haven't looked at the script for it. So tell me, so was it just like a lot of alts that sort of all the alts made it in, or are the jokes that we're watching on in the pilot not in the script that you
Some
saw?
are in there, but it feels like the architecture of the pilot and things would be built on it. And so an example is the scene on the plane in which Cameron and Mitchell sort of are introduced. They have this adopted child, and Mitchell's very insecure about how people are watching them. And that is
Mm.
dragged out to great effect, and sort of has an explosive finale where in that
Right.
on screen it is, and on the page, it's basically just a 1-2 joke of, "Oh, isn't she cute? And
Mm.
you and your wife are going to be very good parents." And then another man sits down next to Mitchell.
So it didn't have the build, it didn't have the cream puff, it didn't have
None,
all the other stuff.
none of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so it's still wonderful to read, but it's much more understated in some ways on the
Mm.
page, and then gets very loud is the wrong word, I think, for the show.
Mhm.
But it it, it has more presence on screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's pushed and it pops in ways that work really well. And so we also have to, for folks who aren't familiar with sort of when the show first debuted, The Office was already on the air, and I think Parks and Rec may have happened. So like the idea of a mockumentary was not brand new to audiences. What's interesting to me about the Modern Family pilot is in the pilot, we're putting on little, the Pritchett family, we're establishing we have little tags on it to show who they are, which then go away for the rest of the show. And it feels a little bit more like a documentary, but like we never acknowledge that there is a camera there, kind of. It's like it's a mockumentary in form only, but like without any of the stuff. In The Office or Parks and Rec, there's times we feel like the characters are trying to run away from the cameras and trying to have private conversations. That never happens in Modern Family. It's just an excuse to be able to have cutaways where we're talking directly to camera about a thing or to shoot a look towards the camera for something. But it's not a there's no sense that there is actually a American family documentary being really that's ever going to come out of the end of this. There's never a sense that the characters are trying to hide their true they're embarrassed by the cameras being around, or that anybody else in the world notices that there's a camera crew following the Pritchett's.
I suppose it's worthwhile to also contextualize it in the culture. 2009, when it debuted,
Yeah.
Obama moved to the White House in January of that
Hmm.
year.
Hope and change. Yeah. The Dumfies were definitely Obama voters, and it was unapologetically Los Angeles. It was like some sort of wet, like not defined somewhere in West LA that they're living, somewhere in the West Side they're living, and it it did, yeah, it felt hopeful, but without it wasn't trying to do family ties where the political of it all was a big aspect. It was just, you know, they're supposed to be modern families and a bigger modern family. And of course, the for folks who haven't come back to rewatch it or don't remember it, is that in the pilot, it's never established that they're all the same family until the last scene, where the others come over to visit Cameron Mitchell's kid, and or visit Cameron Mitchell and see they have a kid, and that's where we first realize, oh, they're not three separate families; they're actually all one big family.
Can you remember if that was a major surprise for you at the time?
I remember I think I was surprised when I saw it, and watching it again last night, it's like, well, how was I surprised? Of course, they're all be one family. There's nothing. There really are no misdirections, but I think because you had the three separate title cards, you thought like, well, maybe it is a documentary that we are going to follow three separate threads.
It's a structure, I think, that almost set up the This Is Us pilot with
Hmm. Oh yeah,
the segment out of time to tie it all
yeah,
together.
yeah. I don't think you have This Is Us without Modern Family. I think that it was a necessary prerequisite.
So I was also looking up the impact of it on the gay marriage debate at the time.
Hmm.
I found a number that 25% of people who changed their minds on marriage attributed it to the depiction of Cameron and Mitchell in the series.
I can believe that. So I think again, just like gay people in general, people have a preconceived notion of gay people and like a sense of a reaction until they actually meet someone, a gay person in person, and they would have the same instinct about like, oh, a gay couple or sort of what a gay couple is like, and then until you actually meet a gay couple, it's like, oh, well, they're absolutely completely normal, and especially gay parents is a thing where it's just like, oh, well, it's just very normalizing. So as a gay dad, like with me and my husband and having a baby at the time, our baby would have been our daughter, I guess, would have been 4 when it debuted. Listen, like we didn't really deal with stares, but we also sort of just kind of plowed through and didn't sort of worry about it very much. The experience of being gay dads is mostly about being parents, and it's very little about being gay. It's just it's all the normal stuff. It's all the play dates and the endless kids' birthday parties and all of that stuff that you're dealing with. It's much more just the experience of parenthood than it is about anything, particularly that you're two dads or two moms.
Watching the pilot, I was struck by the balance that they managed to achieve with those two characters between mundanity, what you're describing, just
Mhm.
the everyday parenting, the simple questions that you might have about how to do it, and the fear that comes with that, but also playing with, commenting on gay stereotypes, or owning them
Mhm.
in some way that is really graceful for network at the time.
Yeah, it's really well done. I don't know whether now you would cast Eric Stonestreet plays Cameron. I don't know that you would cast a straight actor in that role, and like you might feel nervous about sort of like how queenie he can be at times. And yet their chemistry is just terrific, and they play off each other really well. Their energies are so different, their body types are so different that it works really really well. And there are some jokes that are like. Uh, just at the edge of sort of like, oh, is this going to feel a little bit racist to talk about this Vietnamese baby we have here? And yet, because it's all done with joy, you don't feel it. There's not a mean bone in its body, which is, I think, partly what helps. Even though, like, we're told that is not super approving of Cameron, but we sense that like that's just sort of there for the pilot because they're buds in every other way.
I think this might be something we've lost with a lot of our approach to comedy, that these characters are flawed, and sometimes
Hmm.
the borderline racist joke they make isn't for a laugh at the racist joke, but to laugh at them and how foolish they are, and to hopefully provoke a positive reaction from the audience about how they should be behaving themselves. And because it makes me uncomfortable now.
Hmm.
But then I think I've been engineered over the last 15 years to not find this acceptable anymore. And
Yeah,
it works though. It
yeah.
doesn't make me dislike them. It makes me think these are characters who are going to grow and improve like a modern family.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fact that Jay is not initially all that accepting or excited about like, oh, like you guys shouldn't have a kid, and like the baby's there, is like, oh, I guess you have a kid, allows, and it's again, it's a point of entry for the audience who can then watch the show from Jay's point of view, if that's who they feel most comfortable with, that they can see it from his point of view, and it still all makes sense. And so it gives you lots of windows into the show, and you can watch it from wherever you're at. And the kids are incredibly well cast. They look so young in this pilot, but including the kids, it's a show you can watch with your family and they with little kids, and they'll mostly get it. There's like a few racy things that are going to go over their head. Like it establishes a good social contract with the audience about like these are the boundaries of what you're going to see in this show, and it's going to push things a little bit further than other traditional sitcoms will, but not into a place where you're going to feel too uncomfortable. An example being, Phil is probably the closest to like a Michael Scott character from The Office, where like he's the most pushed kind of the characters, and in the pilot you definitely feel it
Mm.
too. But like the ongoing gag they're gonna have, of course, the series is that he's like lusting over Gloria, and so there's like a little small moment of that where it's like she says feel, and so he feels her dress, and it's like no, he's saying feel like Phil, your name, and there's really great smart things that they do on that level, which are establishing runway for where they want to go, for like joke spaces that they're creating, yet also feel authentic to the moments that they're in.
I hadn't considered your observation. I mean, it seems obvious now that you've said it, but that each of the families, the sort of subsections of the
Yeah.
family, provide an entry point for different types of people. So you can
Yeah.
be a gay audience member,
Mhm.
you have your experience, and it's something for everybody. It again, it feels very obvious, but it's just so deft that I didn't pay attention to that part.
Well, and they're all also on equal footing. It's not like, these are side characters, these are principal characters. Basically, everyone who's on screen can drive story. The kids to a lesser degree in those early years, but everyone, all the adults certainly can drive story, and scenes can be about them. But an example of like Cam and Mitchell, like they talk about they're talking about the mural on the wall and the guy who painted it who has a crazy name, but then and Pepper and stuff like, why do all our friends have crazy names? Which is a very gay thing to say. And also, they're laying a track. Like we're going to meet those characters down the road. That's Nathan Lane and other great people who are going to come in, and so we're going to get to see beyond the borders of that stuff. And so, and they'll make gay jokes, but like gay jokes that are safe within the space of the contract that they set up with the audience. And so, they're specific, but not salacious. And so they can get away with like maybe one or two things that a straight audience might go, okay, but you believe it because you believe in the relationship between Cam and Mitchell.
The 1-2 of the names is my favorite joke in the entire pilot. Like, do you hear yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Longinus. Like
Longinus. I forgot Longinus is the name. Yeah.
So I'd love to chat about the series' legacy, or rather what it's like watching this in 2025, 15 years and change after it first aired, because somehow it was revolutionary at the time in a lot of ways, and depictions of these sort of modern families on television. And now it's 2025, and where we thought the country was going seems to be dramatically changing. And now it feels like I'm not even sure if they would make this today.
Yeah, it's wild that they probably wouldn't make the series today. They would love to have a show that lasted 11 seasons. My God, they'd be just delighted to have a show that ran so long. I don't know. If Mike Schur wanted to make a show that was kind of like this, I think he could. Would it be on broadcast? Maybe not. It'd be through his Netflix deal. But I think you could still do a show that was hopeful and kind and really densely funny, and it would still find an audience. I think there's a calling for it. That they're shooting so many. It's a 20 episode season, and apparently like a really good place to work. So, talking a little bit out of class, I know that like the two showrunners did not get along, and they each had their own writing room. They both did their own thing. You don't really feel it in the show as time goes on. Like whose episode an episode was, it's not vastly different. But from folks who talk about like actually shooting the episodes, they weren't horrible long days. They were on location, but they went through things quickly. It just like it felt like kind of a dream to be on that show, and people didn't feel imprisoned by it the way that I think sometimes actors and cast and crew can feel just trapped in a dangerous grind. The cast members still speak of it so fondly.
I found watching it just a strange, the dissonance that I experienced watching something that in 2009 felt joyful. It still feels all of those things. And now it fills me with, I just did the Phil. It fills me with longing for
Yeah.
I
want to go back to that time. I remember that time.
Yeah.
It was so nice. And it's not that different from like, it looks a lot like our time. It's just like things were a little better maybe. And that's sort of sad. You felt like the characters in that world felt like they were on an upswing, and you don't necessarily feel that in real life these days.
No, not at all. Is there anything else you want to dive into about this?
I think there's a moment in the pilot which I had not remembered, but then I watched it and like, oh my God, that was an edgy choice, but like it's so funny. I'm not sure it actually holds true to where the characters end up going, but Luke has shot his sister with a BB gun, like a plastic BB gun, and so she's mad, and it's like it's like, oh wait, well, no, you have to shoot him back, and so the immediate joke is like, well, like no, we're busy this afternoon, so like when are we gonna do it? And then all run a calendar, figure out okay, at 4:15. Dad shoots Luke, but then like we sort of go through with it, and he's about to like shoot his son with his BB gun, and then of course it becomes the hijinks, so the gun keeps going off, and other people get shot. But the fact that like the show was willing to make you believe that this father would shoot his son was edgy for the moment, and I hadn't remembered it, but it was all really well done.
It is well done. That was one of the things I referred to when I said, there were aspects of the pilot that felt dated.
Yeah, no. So, again, I think part of the reason why I want to bring in this episode is because I've never written a half hour. I don't think I ever will write a half hour. I've never written anything nearly that joke dense. I wouldn't really quite know how to do it. So it's like watching a talented magician. It's like I don't know how you're doing that, but I'm just so impressed by it because I know it's just writing. It's just figuring out how to make every little thing fit just perfectly. But it's just remarkable when it works that way. And the other bit of trivia, which I was reading this morning, was Claire in it. I'm blanking on her name. Oh, Julie Bowen. So Julie Bowen is like 8 months pregnant with twins while she's shooting the pilot, and so there are moments where she's like carrying towels around, and like, but they hit it well. They made it a good plot point for why she was coming in with towels to do stuff.
Impossible to tell. I had no idea until I read that.
Yeah,
She carried it very well.
yeah, yes, for sure.
So you've really never tried a half hour?
I haven't. I think I may have come in on. Was there anything that I helped out on a room on? I can't think of anything. My friends who've done it, it's just the scripts are just so short. The common experience you hear from people who've gone from standard comedies to half hours, like my friend Dana Fox has done that, is you're like like you hit I hit page 30, like I'm done. It's all finished. Like there's no more to do. They're an absolute joy to read because they're also like 30 minutes, and but just the expectation of like what happens scene by scene by scene is incredibly tight. Other half hours I love, like New Girl, so good, but again, joke density every little bit has to work, and that's I just love the luxury of some time and space to tell a whole story.
Well, I've enjoyed every minute of this. Thank you for motivating me to go back to the Modern Family pilot.
Great talking with you about it. Thank you so much, Cole.
As for you listening, thanks again for your support of 5 a.m. Story Talk. If you have any questions about this bonus episode, jump into the comments with them and I'll do my best to answer them. Until next time, remember, modern families like the Pritchetts are currently being targeted and torn apart across the United States today. Lives are being ruined. Lives are already being lost. Speak up. Use your voice, even if you're not affected yet. I say yet because privilege only lasts so long. When you protect others, you protect yourself. Modern Family was defined by kindness and love, and we cannot stop fighting for that.